And we are live with another My Music. It's Graham Coath. It's Friday, unless you're listening to this on a Saturday or Sunday or Monday or another day of the week, in which case it's that day for you. But it is a Friday when we are having this conversation. And by we, I mean myself today and Karolina over here, who's come to join me. Before we talk and have a lovely time talking about things, music, or her thesis, which she's just handed in, I'm going to play this video and you're going to watch it or listen to it, or you're going to disappear to the toilet for a few minutes and have a cup of tea. Keep on, don't stop, Karolina. Is that a motto you would live by?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This year, especially trying to juggle being a medical student and a musician and some other things.
Oh, now let's talk about that then. A medical student and a musician, etc. So, medicine. What is it you're doing then?
Well, yeah, I am still studying medicine at the moment. However, I will be taking a break next year.
Is this with the aim of being a doctor, a specialist in any particular field, or?
It used to be, but then, I'm from Poland, and in Poland, if you're a good kid, you do law or medicine. And I was a very good kid.
Oh.
So I came to London even to study medicine, just like my parents wanted me to. But then in London, I met a lot of people who are doing different things and are very happy and successful. So I thought I need to try that as well, because I actually don't like it that much,
Oh, do you know what? I love you already. This is great. So you've been perverted by London then? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's absolutely it.
Oh, my word. What is it? What is it then about the UK that has caused this mind shift, or was it always there, really?
It was always in the back of my mind, but
right.
Yeah, like I said, I think, especially I don't come from Warsaw, the capital, where things are a bit different. Like I come from a smaller city, and yeah, I just don't think there are that many creative job opportunities out there, and that was my entire view on the job market. And then I moved to London, and I think London is a very, very unique space for these things as well. You can find a job for anything, the job titles are just something that I would never see back in Poland, and it's just a way greater variety of things. And as I realized that, I thought I really need to dive deep into it, and that's why
we were just watching last night. We were watching one of the great TV shows on British television, which is Rich House, Poor House. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's just not really one of the great. Well, it's okay. All right. Other shows are available, and it's not a bad show. I'm going to put it out there before someone gets me in trouble. But so in the show, a couple of people from a very rich house that are making millions of pounds swap houses with someone that's on the breadline, right?
Yeah.
Not got a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the main thing that the guy that and his partner his partner was a property developer, but you know what the main thing that the guy who was made millions from in the show, do you know what it was? This is sort of London area.
I really want to know.
Sniffing people's armpits. Absolutely.
Right.
So when you say right, in London the opportunities are just there for everything. Basically this guy had started up out the back of nowhere with a tin, a Quality Street tin of money, which he'd saved up over a period of time. He rented a unit. He started his own product testing business, right? To give back feedback to companies that were making deodorants, and literally line up people, smell their armpit, and he's still doing it to this day. He smelled millions of people's armpits, and he's 12 million he's worth a year. 12 million a year. There you go. Sniffing armpits. Right.
Yeah, London, so,
London, right? I just use that as an example. You can make your money anything in London. So what was your thesis on that you've just handed in? Because I'm very impressed. Are you allowed to say, or do you have to shoot me?
I am allowed. Actually, my thesis was on depression and serotonin receptors in the brain, and it's very connected to the psychedelic science, that's the only part of medicine that actually interests me, I guess. And I've been doing a bit of that, so that's again another thing that I was juggling this year. Faking being a scientist, faking being a doctor, faking being a musician, fake it.
Come on, you're not faking being a musician, are you?
We'll see.
Well, you wouldn't be on this show if you were faking being a musician. I wouldn't have allowed you. No, I wouldn't have allowed you to have entered through the hollowed corridors of this establishment if you were faking it being a musician. I picked you up on Instagram where you jumped out from behind a wall at me, or something similar, wearing a bright yellow outfit.
That was
and you were like,
trash bin.
And you're like, And I thought, that's fantastic. You are completely bonkers, and I love it.
Exactly.
Have you always been a bit like that?
Yeah, I wasn't a very popular kid when I was small. Fair enough. But then I met a couple of other weird people, and I realized that's my herd. That's my crowd,
That's your thing.
And then again, I went into medical school, and I also realized that's not really my vibe. So, so here I am. I had a conversation today with my tutor about taking a little break in medicine, and I thought she's gonna be like, "Why are you taking a break? Give me reasons, and are you even coming back?" But what she said was, "You're gonna be like Emily Sunday. You know what she did? She went to medical school, and after 4 years, she took her little diploma from neuroscience, which I'm getting this year, by the way. That was my thesis. And then she dropped out. And I'm like, no way."
I mean, that's not a bad name check, is it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right?
It's a pretty good one.
She was like, I tell you what, do you know what? If it's good enough for Emily Sunday, it's good enough for Karolina. Yeah, and you took that and you went, well, I was hoping you were going to convince me otherwise, and I was hoping that you were going to tell me, I should stick around with the science because this is the sensible route and all of that. But has she seen your videos?
No, she hasn't. So I can't really take her word here, but I can take it as a sign from the world. Because I did I asked the universe a couple of questions, like there was, for example, a lecture about my future in medicine. Right. And at that point, I was already not really attending lectures, but I thought, okay, I'm going to give this one last chance. So I get there 15 minutes before the lecture. I'm ready to be persuaded to actually do this. And the lecture didn't happen. The lecture didn't even show up. And at that point, I was like, okay, clearly that's not what I should do.
Listen, I believe that everything happens for a reason. And, sometimes, when you go away to study stuff as well, it might not be that any of that really matters until a completely different time of your life. It might be that suddenly it makes sense further down the line, and then you might come back to it or whatever. But you got to kind of go with what's right at the time. Yeah. I went and did a degree at a university where, when I got to the university, in the public toilets in the library, there was on the toilet roll holder, above the toilet roll holder, it had a sign that someone had put there which said, because I did a degree in communication studies, which was brand new at the time, and this sign said, "Communication studies degrees free, please take one," on the toilet roll holder. And I took that as a sign. So I thought, well, everybody thinks this is a joke degree. So I worked out pretty quickly in year one what I needed to do. Right, in year one, what I needed to do. I'm sorry, lecturers, if you're listening. Yeah, they're probably all dead by now because I'm old. But I worked out what I needed to do to pass my degree, right? Yeah. Whilst also working out what else I could do whilst I was doing my degree. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think it's great. I think it's great. I think it's good that you're working this through. In my second year, here's one for you. In my second year, I did a diploma whilst doing my degree, mm-hmm. and I was in a signed band, and we toured all at the same time. I had no sleep, literally, for a whole year. But it was so much fun.
Yeah, sounds good. But you finished the degree at the end.
I did, but wow. but just
you
know,
fair enough.
And I worked out the best way to revise for a degree, folks, mm-hmm. which is if you're wondering the best method, and you've tried everything out there, find a pub that does amazing chip butties.
Yes. Okay.
There's probably some people that are now going, "Oh my goodness, my son's listening, my son or daughter's listening to this. Do not take that advice." No, these days you have to work jolly hard to get a degree. But back in my day, clearly, you know. But I did enjoy. I did work out that actually, in the middle of all my studies, I don't know whether you found this. I did work out that. And I've always been a listener of music since I was really, really young, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But I worked out that I could actually remember different pieces of information if I listened to different pieces of music, and then I would recall the pieces of music. So I would sit there in an exam, trying desperately not to make a noise, but trying to hum to myself different bits of music, because that would bring back the information.
That's brilliant. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? I've never heard of that. People can see like pages of text or something, but you could hear the music.
I literally link music to information.
Wow.
There you go. So there's something in it.
Yeah.
Well, when did you so you grew up in Poland?
Yeah.
You must have loved music at a young age. Yeah. Absolutely. What were you brought up listening to, or was that quite closed off as well?
That's actually a very very interesting thing. Well, I've always loved Hannah Montana when I was smaller. You know, I'm also blonde. I have a fringe now, so makes sense, doesn't it?
Right.
But then I guess my parents introduced me a bit to like bossa-nova.
Were you shocked when you realized that Hannah Montana wasn't Hannah Montana?
I was, of course.
Were you? Yeah, I bet.
Well, yeah. And like everything in my room was Hannah Montana branded, and I was like, what do I do now?
Right.
I live
especially when Hannah Montana that wasn't Hannah Montana started twerking.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly,
you were like, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big change to my life. But then I guess I switched to bossa nova. So thank God. Yeah, I started, I think when I was 7, I did some violin classes, but then again, I realized I can't play Hannah Montana on violin, so I dropped that. But then singing classes I did for a really long time. That was actually what I really loved. since the very beginning. But then I think I started writing music only when I stopped attending the classes, because the classes were very, like with a rigid structure. You sing this song, and if you add any like creative stuff to the song, you're already doing it wrong, because I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that London showed me, I guess. I started going to open mics and like young artist showcases and stuff, and then I realized that actually, the technicalities, the skills are very important, but what's most important, especially for the audience, is just the feeling that you show, that you share. And that's how I actually started making my own music and putting my emotions out there.
But I think you've already got, as an artist, you've already got something which is quite precious, which is that you actually understand what a song needs, rather than necessarily go, this is my style, this is my thing, this is the limitation of what I can do, and therefore produce a piece of music that, is this, and then it's always this, and then maybe having to struggle to find or reinvent yourself. I think because you don't seem to necessarily, I don't think you'll be one of these people that would ever necessarily need to reinvent themselves, because you will just reinvent yourself every single time you write a piece of music. Am I not right in that?
Oh wow, that's very interesting. But I guess might be true. I really like experimenting with different
You
things.
really do. Yeah.
Some of my videos are just pure bossa nova and guitar, but then I started collaborating with this music producer from Portugal called Uni, who does more electronic music. And then I thought, wow, okay, that's cool. Let's do this now. And it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're getting the measure of you already, which is that you get slightly bored with things quite quickly.
Ooh, really?
But
4 years of medicine was way too long.
well, that was way too long. But I don't mean that in a nasty way. But I think you've got a mind that's like wants to continually sort of, look for the exciting aspect of something. Do you or don't?
Yeah,
Is that?
And actually, one of my biggest, like, I guess, fears in being, a musician is that a lot of people talk about how you need to have your own brand. And I'm really worried I am already struggling to make that brand consistent, because I want to experiment all the time, and I never know if there's any like consistent factor in this.
Oh, but you see, this is where I think someone that runs a social media marketing business and branding and does all of that kind of thing on a day-to-day basis. This is where I think you're overthinking it, because I think your brand. This is going to sound really cliche, but I think your brand is you, and I think your brand is your energy, right?
Okay,
Because because I honestly think that you could actually fit into the kind of mold of a absolutely amazing artist like Björk.
That's some very big words.
That is some very big words, but I think you could, because I think you've got that kind of, it's just and you can see that in the fact that you're pulling other people in already and collaborating and doing all of that really early on in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I think you're just constantly sort of looking to expand, etc. And so therefore, I think your brand is your energy. And I think your brand is that kind of infectious kind of like, I want to experiment with this, and that's your brand.
Wow. Thank you very much. Yeah.
There you go. I think what you need to do.
Yeah.
I think what you need to do, take this advice, leave this advice, do whatever you like with it. But I think what you need to do is, I think you need to let yourself go a little bit in terms of that want to experiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
because I actually reckon the further you go with it, the more you'll see it come back in terms of success. Because I honestly believe that with someone like you, that if you really let yourself go and just let your imagination go wild, you'll probably find that you'll create something that's just so not been done before that people will go, oh my goodness, have you seen what she's doing? It's just off the scale.
Wow. Well,
There you go.
let's do that then. Sounds good.
Well, it's good because I have different people through the doors right here, and I have seen over the years, I've seen so many different types of musicians, and like some musicians are, you know, they literally just come up off the streets and they just they have to graft, and they just do, like, they're real grafters, and they you know, they may be like traditional troubadours. They write songs, they, you know, they're a labor of love, but they're sort of like guitar and voice, and over the years they hone it and they hone it and they work at it and they work at it, and that's their path, right? And then, you know, others have a very distinct sound and a very, you know, they've a very distinct look and a very, and that's great as well, you know, that you've got. And then there are people like you, and people like you are the ones where you're like, you potentially could do an album that is like no one's ever heard anything like it before, right? But don't put the barriers around yourself to go, oh, there needs to be a reference point here, where, because that could be your only limiting factor, I think, is where if you start putting things around you where you go, oh, but there needs to be a reference point here so that people like it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to encourage you to say, no, don't. Make it as wacky as possible, right? Because I tell you, it goes back to that thing. The thing that jumped out at me literally from the screen was you jumping out and being like, and a bit quirky and a bit kind of like, I don't know what this is, but I really love it. And the more you do that, the more people are going to take notice, and that will become your brand.
Wow, that sounds perfect. I would love me to be my own brand, you know. I really hate faking things. Although I think I'm good at acting. I think years of medical school make you good at acting.
Years at medical school make you good at acting.
We actually have acting classes, like, for real.
Oh, what? So you can deliver bad news?
Yeah, and that kind of stuff. And then you can look like you care.
Mrs. Jones, I'm so sorry.
I know. But that would be my favorite stuff at med school, honestly, because some of the scientific people I think they struggle to be empathetic, and I think as a very sensitive artistic person, like, that's very natural for me. So that would be, the classes where I would feel most natural at, compared to other things which were completely out of my.
So listen, it started with Hannah Montana.
Yes.
Everyone has to start somewhere. But started with Hannah Montana. But actually, there's a real pop essence to that, which is great. And I think you carry pop really, really well. Who has been the most? Which artist has blown your mind the most?
I think. Do you know Lianne Havas?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I started playing guitar because of her. Because I had was it
because of the clippy type guitar style, or
Yeah, just the finger style of playing the guitar together with like the soul-y singing. I think I had like half a year of guitar classes when I was
yeah.
And then I hated guitar because my teacher was like fan of rock music, and all he would teach me was rock, and I didn't care about that really. But then a couple of years later, I discovered Lianne, and I was just flabbergasted by how a guitar can be so sensitive and beautiful. And then I started teaching myself her songs, and that when I realized she actually uses chords inspired by bossa nova, I started getting interested in bossa nova. So then I started learning,
Yeah, you see.
and all these things, and I basically retaught myself guitar. Although I really like coming back to, like the limits that, like, I guess I put to myself in my head. I think a lot of it comes from like the imposter syndrome, because I don't know any music theory. I've never had any like professional classes in like, yeah, jazz guitar or anything like that. So I know that it makes me experiment more, because I just have no idea what I'm doing. And then, I play around with my guitar, and then I find something interesting. I'm like, that's nice. Let's use that. But then a lot of the time I'm also like, if I actually knew what I was doing, maybe that could be better and better. But how better could it really be? I don't know.
Oh, I think you can always push forward. You can always find the next thing.
Well, of course.
You know who was a big fan of hers, by the way, don't you?
Sorry?
You know who was a big fan of Leon Lahavis, don't you?
Oh, I don't know.
Prince.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised.
There you go. You see.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in those circles already, just by
Absolutely.
yeah. That's absolutely right. What's the big ambition for you?
The big ambition.
Yeah, musically. I mean, so you've got you put your thesis in, which is going to do well. Okay, you've kind of got a medical degree to fall back on, hopefully, maybe if whatever. But
Yeah.
you're obviously at kind of a crossroads where you're thinking music might take you there. So you wouldn't be thinking like that unless you've got an ambition. So what's the ambition?
Like realistically, just making any money on music. I guess just being able to sustain myself while doing something that I love, because I really see that music is probably the only thing that can really draw my attention. I can sit at my guitar for hours, not eat, not drink, just I'm so focused, and there's no other thing that makes me fall into this state. And yeah, I just want to live with music by making music, but of course I need to apply that to the real world as well. And I think also, as much like the more music you make, the more, again, opportunities to collaborate with other people open up, and I'm just really excited for that. And again, the imposter syndrome comes back. I really want to collaborate with people who actually know what they're doing, just to learn from them. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that then. So who, if you had an open book now, and I could say, right, in my book over here, I've got a whole load of names that with their contact details. Who would you choose to collaborate with right now? Who do you think would really push you forward?
Well, again, Leon Lahavas for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to make a note so that I can tag them all into the interview.
Right, please.
Yeah.
Jordan Rakai, I think he has great production skills, and he also keeps stressing how, as a musician, it's the best to do your own production, because then you have control over the whole creative process. And I must say, I'm not that good at production, and I rely on other people a lot, which is a bit frustrating, because it's never like a project that's mine from start to the end. And as much as it can make it more interesting, it's also sometimes not exactly what I want to say, right? So yeah, Jordan Rakai. There's this new artist in London. I mean, new. She's getting bigger and bigger now. Have you heard of Raquel Martins?
Yes.
Yeah, she's great. I really like her music, and again, she's really inspired by bossa nova. She's actually Portuguese, so that makes more sense for her than for me. So I would probably learn a lot from her.
Well, let's see what we can do. Let's tag you in.
Lovely.
Right. You know, when Leanne contacts you next week, let us know.
Right, of course.
You know, we expect to see you working together with her on a record for 2024.
Cool.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we can do a big episode with her and me and you, you know.
Absolutely. That is what it's all about.
Fantastic.
Listen, for anybody that hasn't actually cottoned on to your music yet, where's the best place for them to start? Where do you want them to go to see or hear your music?
Instagram for sure. I think that's where I experiment the most. Because Spotify, you know, when I put something on Spotify, it needs to be mastered, it needs to be produced. But Instagram is so much more direct.
You like the quite organic process of like just putting stuff out on Instagram and getting a response back. And
it's also a really good way to like gauge what people feel about the music that I put out there. And sometimes, you know, I just feel like recording something and putting out there that day. And then if I see a positive response, I'm like, okay, maybe that's something I should explore more. If I don't, sometimes I take it as a bit of a criticism, but, you know, like constructive criticism. And sometimes when I'm really sure about the idea, I'm like, okay, I will do it anyway. But it's nice to have it out there.
Listen, Karolina, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed coming into the little My Music cupboard this afternoon. Please, folks, if you haven't checked Karolina's music out already, you're mad. You really need to. And just go and check her out on Instagram. Follow her on Instagram. Let's get her Instagram followers up as much as possible, because you'll love it. I absolutely guarantee you'll love it. You know, I'll rubber stamp this, and if you don't, then you just got no taste in life whatsoever. So, you know, there we are. Bold statement. We're gonna tag in all of the wonderful people that you've mentioned this afternoon. We hope all of those collaborations happen, because collaborations make the world go round. This is what this is about. This is what everything that I do online is all about. Collaborations. It's all about working with other people, because the world's a dull place otherwise. You know, no one wants to just hear one person's voice or one person's story. What we want to hear is people talking to each other, getting the stories out there, right? Learning from each other, delivering something different into the world. And you are definitely, young lady, delivering something different into the world. Long may it last. So yes. Are you playing any gigs, by the way, over the summer?
No, actually on Monday I'm going to Colombia for a month.
Wow. There you go.
So that's life at the moment, but when I'm back, for sure I will play around. So yeah, follow my Instagram for
follow Instagram. You're going to have some amazing shots from Colombia in the meantime. Maybe there's some Colombian influence will rub off on your music whilst you're there.
Yeah.
You know, there's some great recording studios over there. Until next time, later tonight, I will be speaking to Bailey James, one of the, you know, up and coming stars of country music. And you know, it's big Hooney country music at the moment. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be 6 p.m. tonight. I hope you've enjoyed. This is My Music, Graham Coath. If you like this, share it. If you don't like it, tough, you've got no taste. Until next time, enjoy. Karolina, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye for now, everybody.